Welcome to our show, and thank you for watching. This is Frank Avila, your host. We have John Kozlar, candidate for 11th Ward in the city of Chicago. John, give us in just a 3-minute bio. Who is John Kozlar?
Yeah, so I'm a fourth generation of the 11th Ward. Grew up in the same building in Bridgeport on 31st and Emerald, and I went to Mount Carmel High School. Graduate of the class of 2007, but before that I went to Mark Sheridan Academy, which is Chicago public school. So I learned a lot about the diversification of students, and also how to treat others with respect. And at Mount Carmel, they treated me like a family member. They treated me how to be a man and how to interact with people. So it was a great educational experience. And after after Mount Carmel High School, I had the privilege to attend the University of Chicago in Hyde Park.
One of the best,
Yeah, really good.
They say Harvard is the University of Chicago of the East.
That's what I hear. And the loans are equally the same, but it's an investment on education.
If you wanted A's, you would have gone to Harvard.
That's right. True. But yeah, I learned a lot at the University of Chicago. Met people from all over the world. So it's just a new level of education, and I was pre-med and political science.
Well, that's impressive because I attended class at the University of Chicago, and I try to stay away from, the core curriculum is pretty tough there. As they said, there's no easy classes you see, no rocks for jocks or anything like that.
Right.
So you took, I had guys who are now medical doctors that had one wrong in the SAT, and they would getting D's in their organic chem classes and their biology classes.
Right, and it was definitely an educational challenge academically, but I also played baseball there for 4 years, and we went to Japan to play Waseda University. So it was the first time I was ever on a plane, was to Japan for a nice 12.5-hour flight, and we took off in the snow.
Well, you should have taken a shorter flight for the first flight.
Right, and we took off in the snow, and we had to actually, while we were on the tarmac, we had ice on the wings, so we were delayed. So I sat between two seniors who gave me a nice time, and they let me know it was my first time flying.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's just
see, that's why my friend Joe Ramirez likes you. You're a baseball player.
Yes, yeah.
Because he's a baseball player and coach.
Joe's a great guy, and he's a family man, and he cares about not only his children but his community. So, and I think we have a lot of connections like that.
Right.
So
University of Chicago, where did you go from there?
After University of Chicago, I am
Dean's List at the University of Chicago.
Dean's List at the University of Chicago.
And also some memberships in some clubs that names I can't even pronounce, I think.
Yeah, I was actually on the Journal Club for.
Talking more on the scientific level.
This was the apoptosis, so it's the study of cell death, and my study was pediatric oncology, so children with cancer.
So apoptosis, I thought it was Pop-Tarts. I guess it's about children's cancer, so I shouldn't be insensitive at all. So apoptosis.
Apoptosis, which is cell death.
And you were cell death, and you were studying children's cancer.
Yes.
Okay.
And then it's just an experience as far as you're in the laboratory and you have just a very good gratitude towards people who are in the medical field, whether it be in the ER or actually doing behind the scenes in research.
And you're Chicago, I think more Nobel Prize winners than any university.
Yes.
Where they split the atom with Enrico Fermi.
Right.
Yeah, that big dedication to him, but Enrico Fermi, of course, one of the greatest atomic scientists.
Yes, they actually did it right underneath the football field.
Okay.
But yeah, it was just an uplifting experience, and I got into politics at the University of Chicago in my third and fourth year. Finished pre-med, but I was faced with the decision: do I want to pursue my dream and get into politics, or do I want to go to the medical field, which was also something I was very interested in doing.
Now, why do you want to go in politics in general? First, and then I'll ask you why do you want to run for Alderman 11th Ward. So it looks like you would probably get into a 6, if not 7-figure field in medicine or medical research or scientific research, being at the University of Chicago, being Dean's List, as well as doing high-level scientific research of names that I can't even pronounce.
Right. It's one of those things where you have to sit down and make a life decision. For me, I just see the positive things that can come out of politics and just investing in our youth, and that's one of the things I'm involved with, running a local Little League organization. We have well over 500 children, which means there's well over 500 smiles and 500 families who have a location to go to during the summer months to keep their kids off the streets, instead of playing on video games or doing other things that are temptations in life. But it was one of those things where I did sit down and I said, do I want to pursue my dream in politics, or do I want to go in the medical field? And I made that decision and chose to get into politics. And in going into politics, I wanted to pursue education and become a better individual overall. And that's when I attended John Marshall Law School. So I'm actually in my last semester at John Marshall.
Cali or Cali?
Cali, yeah. I actually won the Cali Award in Professional Responsibility, which the Cali Award is receiving the top grade in your class. So I did receive that, and I was very honored to have that recognition.
Okay. Dean's List too at John Marshall?
Yes, sir. So
Okay.
one of the good things about just investing in education, you meet new people. So I met people who are fighting overseas right now, and that's one of the things
You met a friend of mine, John Joyce?
Yes, a good man.
Afghan veteran, Marine Corps combat veteran, Afghan veteran?
Yes, and he was a fellow classmate of mine, and those are people who...
UFC grad?
UFC grad as well, and these are people who are fighting for our freedom right now, whether it's 50 years ago or present day, and those are the reasons why I'm telling everybody, go out and vote. We have people fighting 1,200 miles away for us to get this freedom to vote. Take 15 minutes out of your day and make a decision.
Okay. So, pretty good academic background. Now tell us about your community background, which is also very solid, because it seems like you don't have to live in Bridgeport. If you went to the University of Chicago, you could stay in Hyde Park,
right.
Get a good scientific research job, or become a doctor, or become a lawyer as your lawyer, and you could go in patent law because of your medical background. Usually only engineers or law, or pre-med go into patent law, which is very difficult. I don't do patent law.
Yeah.
So I'm a lawyer, but I don't do patent law.
Okay.
And I don't know about apoptosis.
Right.
So you're much smarter than I am, John. So tell us about your community involvement.
Yeah, so at the age of 19 years old, I was given opportunity to be involved in a local organization, which is the Canaryville Little League. So, like I said earlier, I was a Bridgeporter for life, and the thing about Bridgeport and Canaryville, they don't always see eye to eye. They might be fighting on Fridays, but come Sunday morning, everybody's the best of friends.
Right.
So I was given an opportunity to be a part of this local Little League organization at a very young age.
That's if they get up in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. That is correct.
All right. Little joke.
Yeah. But with the Little League, it's they never asked me how old I was.
Right.
What they asked me was, do you care about our organization? Because this Little League organization inside of Canaryville is a gem of the neighborhood. And you know what they did? They gave me a chance. And I had no idea how to run a budget, how to operate over 300 families, or how to bring communities together. But you know what? They gave me that opportunity. And after this is my 6th year, we have the best Little League facility in the entire state of Illinois. Not because of the things that I did, but because of the community working together. And operating a budget, we have 7 different neighborhoods in the league right now. We have over 530 kids signed up, and it's just an amazing experience to be involved in investing in our youth, because one day these youth are going to grow up and then do the same thing to their next generation. And it's just a cycle we get into of always giving back, always investing, always making sure we pay attention to our youth and our families. So
what's the budget of your Little League team in the Canaryville?
Yeah, so we actually, with over the last 5 seasons, we've reinvested over $250,000.
$250,000 at 19 years old, unless you're an internet expert like Zuckerberg and making the millions, or you're a drug dealer. Most 19 years old are not managing $250,000.
Right, and even over 5 seasons, we operate over $500,000.
$500,000. Wow.
And this is running the concession stand, which is
no business experience.
No business experience. Never managed that large scale of.
My viewing
finances.
audience, I must break in and say that I really am. Usually when I'm viewing politicians, I must say that I'm the smartest person in the room. But there are those rare occasions when you get this gem, and I am far, 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 far less than the smartest person in the room. This is a boy genius that you're looking at. And at Bridgeport and Canaryville and the other communities that make up the 11th Ward are not voting for John Kozlar. You're making a huge mistake, because this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get a young man when he's still, I hate to say naive, when he's not cynical and not going out for his own interests, because you could probably make a lot of money, kid, right? A lot of money. I mean, patent law, being a doctor, being a research scientist, but he wants to stay in the community. This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to get somebody at this level of intelligence, this level of commitment, this level of academic intelligence, but also pragmatic ability to raise funds and organize people at that community level. Otherwise, he will go and make a lot of money and they will not have this chance again to elect somebody of this caliber. So the Little League thing, this sounds amazing.
Yes.
This amazing. A 19-year-old kid, raising and operating a $500,000 budget over 4 or 5 years, $500,000 budget over 9 years, that I understand is very successful.
Yes, it's one of those things, it's the direct result of people working together. We have many events. We have Elvis nights, we have Beatles nights, we have this thing in the neighborhood called Villapalooza, which people from all over the Midwest, these really good bands come in to this one ballpark to have a good time. And a lot of people have a huge impact in the community in organizing that a good 12-hour day, and nobody gets paid for it. Right. And that's the same concept that I would now like to do on a ward level, and that's one of the reasons why I'm running again for alderman. And I actually ran 4 years ago at the age of 22, and we were just 1,255 votes away from forcing a runoff, and now we're in a runoff. And it's just a very humble experience to be a part of. Now,
you have a number of ideas that I've read about on your website and that we discussed outside of this TV show. One is the rehabilitation of Ramova Theater, which I believe is on Halstead in the Bridgeport community.
Yes.
And tell us why you think you should rehabilitate and reopen the Ramova Theater, and why that is important. What would happen? How are you going to do that?
Yeah, so just a little bit about the 11th Ward itself. We have the White Sox Park inside our own community. And
Comiskey Park.
Comiskey Park.
I mean, it can't be U.S. Cellular because U.S. Cellular doesn't exist anymore. Well, Sprint brought out U.S. Cellular. I call it Comiskey Park.
It'll always be Comiskey Park. I'm trying to be politically correct and just call it White Sox Park.
Let's call it Comiskey Park.
Yeah, we'll call it Comiskey Park. I would never call it the Cell. I'm born and raised in Bridgeport, but right after the ball game, people attend the ball game, they leave.
Unlike, let's say, Wrigleyville.
Yeah, I don't want to mention Wrigleyville, but once people go to the ballpark, they stay there.
Right, well, I'll mention it. So at Wrigleyville, where the Cubs play, I can say the Cubs, but he can't say the Cubs. Where the Cubs play is you got miles of bars and restaurants and clubs, and they used to have reggae music and souvenir shops and different theme bars, live bands, miles and miles of economic development. That's what I'll call it. Entertainment, restaurants, sales tax, property tax, jobs. I mean, albeit maybe at the lower end of waitresses, bartenders. Bartenders can make a lot of money, though. But tons of jobs, tons of economic development.
Right, and what we have on the south side of Chicago is board-up storefronts and empty lots. Right. So we need to make the 11th Ward more appealing to everybody.
As another candidate for alderman in the 11th Ward, Carl Segovich, who's been on the show, said, he did not run this cycle, but he did run the last cycle with you. He said South Halstead is a lot different than North Halstead.
Correct.
In terms of economic development.
Yeah, I mean, it's night and day. And that's the saddest part, is that we have a lot of people in the community who are ready for a change. They want more opportunities, whether it be retail or whether it be entertainment, which we don't have right now. And we don't have that right now because of the failure of leadership over in our political offices. But there needs to be somebody who's going to connect that bridge between our community, who's ready for a change, and our elected officials. And I hopefully will be in that position to be part of the elected officials and represent our community as a whole. But right now there's just a major disconnect.
Now, you also have East Pilsen in your community?
Yes, we have East Pilsen and the UIC area.
So you're part of the, would it be considered South or West Loop? UIC, East Pilsen, which has a lot of artists, which I lived in Pilsen for many years. And Joe Ramirez, of course, is from East Pilsen and has helped you there immensely. And I know that you visited art galleries earlier this evening, I understand. Are you?
Yes, they have a really good event called Second Fridays in East Pilsen. And basically all the artists come out and advertise their storefronts, and it's just really amazing storefronts they have, and the artistic work is unbelievable. But people from all over Chicago come to these 4 or 5 blocks to see the various artworks presented. And what we're trying to do on my end, and I know I can do as an alderman, is make it more attractable, advertise it more, bring Bridgeport residents, bring Canaryville residents to this art event, which is every second Friday of the month. And throughout the year. So I've had the privilege of going there the last 2 months, and the community over there is just similar to Bridgeport and Canaryville and also the UIC area. They just want to change.
So let's go back to Ramova Theater.
Yes.
Why are you going to rehab and reopen Ramova Theater, and what impact will that have on the community?
Right, so the Ramova Theater, there's no theater on the south side of Chicago, whether it be, I should say, in the Bridgeport or Canaryville or anywhere near our parameters west of the Dan Ryan. And when you have live entertainment and when you have a movie theater people can go to, you're now going to open the doors up to other people from not only Bridgeport, Canaryville, and the UIC area and East Pilsen to gravitate to, but you're also making the 11th Ward more attractive, where outside people can come in, spend their money, have more traffic through our foot traffic through our streets, which means the local businesses are now going to have an impact. They're going to get customers.
Now, is there a market for movies and live music in your ward?
Yes. Well, actually, there's nothing right now. We don't have any entertainment. So I think this will be a perfect opportunity to make an advancement in bringing entertainment to our 11th Ward. And that just goes through music, and it could go through teaching kids the different arts that we can have a facility for them to gravitate to. We have many good schools, as you know, and this could be a perfect facility to basically make it happen.
Now, the Ramova Theater, how are you going to do that? Is it going to be a private-public partnership? Is it going to be private money? How are you going to rehabilitate it?
Yes, we're actually going to be, it's going to be basically right now the City of Chicago owns the land, and through the TIF funds, we're allowed 20% funding and 80% for private investors. So the role of the Alderman is to attract investors to our community, and that's going to take hard work. It's going to take somebody who's going to advocate for our community and be proactive and not just sit back and assume people are going to come to us. So it's just like running a Little League and getting sponsors. You have to go out to the sponsors.
Which you've proven you can do.
Yeah, I'm going to do being an Alderman just like I've done and demonstrated the last 6 years and working with the community. So it's about going out and getting the funds to make it happen.
Now, the Ramova Theater, I haven't been inside of it. Does it have one of those old structures like many of the theaters do, that's very beautiful? Because, when you look at these old theaters that Chicago had, they're gorgeous. But most of them are either closed down, torn down, or dilapidated.
Right, and it's going to need some work, so we're going to try to restore as much as possible of the theater. We would love to build within the theater itself, just because you can't build that. You can't restore something once it's knocked down. Right. So we're going to try to preserve as much as we possibly can and just make it an old style theater, but with a new style taste to it.
Now, you also have an idea about a dog park in, the South or West Loop or UIC area. Tell us a little bit about the dog park. How did you arrive on that decision, and how would you do it?
Right, so you only learn about the things that are needed in each community, in each neighborhood by talking to the residents. So
you're listening.
We're listening, and you have to listen because I don't live in the UIC area, but now it's a part of the community, and you have to treat the community as a whole. So in going in the UIC area, we asked residents not only about who I was as an individual, that didn't really matter to me at that point. I wanted to learn from them what is needed because I could have an opportunity to represent them. And what they need is for their viaducts to be repaired and also for a dog park they wanted. And the school thing is another issue we can get into. But the dog park came about by listening to the residents, and there's many, I would say 75-80% of the people in the UIC area have dogs. And all they want is a simple dog park. So
and there's no dog park currently.
There's no official dog park. They have to take their dogs to different locations, but there's no one dog park.
Now, is there an area or areas that could possibly be where the dog park would be located?
Yeah, there's actually a few locations we were thinking about, but again, it comes down to talking to the residents and what they feel is a prime location.
So it's very democratic, your process of community involvement, community input. You listen, and they help you make the decision.
Yes, that's my main priority, is to have participatory decision-making process. Because right now, with the heliport, was a decision right in Bridgeport. We have these helicopters flying all over, and that was shoved down our throats. And that was without the input of the community. And that's one of the things where people in the 11th Ward had enough of. Even on the German school, right in the UIC area, it's been there since 1860s, and they recently knocked it down. And they knocked it down with people fighting for it for the last 10 years.
And the structure looks solid, at least externally, even in the rehabilitation.
Yes, and all what needed to be done was for the bridge to be connected between the community and the elected officials. The elected officials had the influence to make it happen. The community was ready to make it happen. They had blueprints ready. And I was with the people 3 days before who were trying to preserve this structure, and all of a sudden, it was knocked down without them being notified.
Right.
So,
and the structure had some historical and architectural significance.
Oh yes, it was there since the 1900s actually, and it's one of those things. Once you knock something like that down, it survived the Chicago fire. There's not many buildings in Chicago right now that should survive the Chicago fire. So not only did we knock down a building that survived that event, but we knocked something down that we can never restore.
Right. So UIC, they want the UIC community wants the dog park and the viaduct.
Yeah, the viaduct.
Tell me about the viaduct.
Yeah, so the viaducts, a lot of the viaducts throughout the whole 11th Ward are in very bad condition. And one of the things that I came up with was to restructure the viaducts, but have a sponsor. So if there's a company that wants to sponsor a viaduct, to basically put their logo on it, but what you're doing is you're revamping
Connie's
it.
Pizza,
but
Apple.
Yeah, and any organization. It could even be residents within our ward who want to donate money. And what you're tying into, you're bringing in local artists to revamp the structure.
So you, for example, you could have any business anywhere, or non-for-profits, like let's say the Old Neighborhood Italian American Club,
Right.
or a church, St. Jerome's, and you could use artists from East Pilsen or artists anywhere from the ward
Yes.
to make something beautiful, get advertisement for the business. I think it's a win-win.
Right, and you can add new lighting. There's the whole 9 yards. Could
And
happen.
you improve the viaduct, which is the most important item in terms of its structure and safety.
Right. Not only that, you beautify Chicago. So this could be a template for other cities to use.
All right, good. So now, East Pilsen, you said artists. You want to interact with the artists. You got an artist kind of community there. How could you help East Pilsen?
So East Pilsen, again, it comes down to listening to them. I don't want East Pilsen to feel like they're distant from Bridgeport and Canaryville, or I don't want the UIC area to feel like they're distant from Pilsen or Canaryville or Bridgeport. So it's all about bringing the communities together. We're separated by a few bridges and viaducts itself, but I am going to make sure that we work together as one team, because if you beautify the area and you make people from the area feel like they're involved, then it just endless possibilities that could happen. When we have events in Bridgeport, people from the north end will want to come there. When we have events in the north end, either UIC or East Pilsen, you're going to want to have people from the south end come there.
So unifier in terms of both ethnicity, race, gender, as well as neighborhoods.
Right, and you reunite the people.
Because you have a lot of historic immigrant communities, Croatian, Italian, Irish, Lithuanian. Sometimes based on parish. This parish is this parish is that.
Right.
It's a nice community. Canaryville was traditionally very heavily Irish. St. Jerome's is Croatian.
Yes.
Santa Lucia was Italians from, especially Calabrese, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you do have a different Chicago where people are now mixing and integrated, and hipsters and yuppies and Hispanics, and everybody's kind of coming together.
Yeah, and it's a very diverse community, which makes it the great community.
Right.
Which can make it a potentially great community. Right now, just imagine if you had the elected officials investing in the community as one, attending the events, not just to take a picture, but actually helping the people make the events happen.
What I never understood is, okay, you have Mayor Daley was the mayor, John Daley is the county commissioner, Bill Daley's this multimillionaire business person, international, national business. Now Patrick Daley Thompson is the nephew, the grandson of Richard J. Daley. But Bridgeport is not that clean. There's a lot of areas that are very dirty in terms of the streets. I don't know if that's the ward superintendent or what that is, which the ward superintendent you definitely should replace, by the way. And I have a good guy that you should think about. And you're right, there's a lot of vacancies. Alderman Balcer, I did think, did a great job on veterans issues, by the way. But he would tell me, oh, we have nanas. Well, what else do you have behind? Oh, it's the best restaurant in the world. And it is good food. A little expensive, I think, for the area. And then you can't park with these parking meter things. But the rest, nanas is great. But what about the rest? I mean, you have some other pockets of places. But Halstead, South Halstead is not, as Carl Segvich said, North Halstead.
Right.
You have vacancies, you have vacant land, you have boarded up storefronts, you have empty storefronts. South Halstead is not what it should be, considering all the clout you had in that neighborhood.
Right, and what we had is the failure of leadership. So all those individuals that you named, they forgot about the community. Right. Once they got elected, they just went on a pedestal and nothing changed.
Well, they're making a lot of money.
Right, they're making a lot of money
for themselves.
And you know what happened? The people are the ones that are now carrying the burden, and that's wrong. And that's why if there's anybody out there in 11th Ward, please make that change. We have a great opportunity right now in the year 2015, and right now it's time. It's time for change. It's time to communicate to our residents, and it's time to bring everybody back together.
Okay, so we talked about the Ramova Theater, and we talked about how Comiskey Park is the anchor for, and those who don't know, Comiskey Park is where the Chicago White Sox played. I don't know about any cell phone companies that no longer exist. I used to have a flip phone, though, U.S. Cellular flip phone, but they made me give that up once the company was sold, so I finally had to get a smartphone. But I do got a smart candidate here, and that's John Kozlar. So, John, what I'd like you to do right now is if you could tell our viewing audience your website, your physical address, your email, and your phone number.
Yeah, so my website with all my specific ideas is www.johnkozlar.com. We actually have our campaign headquarters on West 31st Street, which is 436 West 31st Street on the corner of Canal. And our phone number is 312-285-2397. And stop in. If anybody has any questions, I'm not somebody who feels that I'm better than anybody in the community, so I'm going to talk to you directly via either the phone or online or also in person.
If you have any questions or criticisms, even criticisms of John you disagree with, saying, call him, email him. And if you want to volunteer on his campaign and help him out, you can go to his physical office or contact him on the website or email or phone number that he listed on that's been playing on the bottom of the page and that he just mentioned. Now, you also talked about a bowling alley, I believe in the Bridgeport or Canaryville area. I guess it could be in either.
Right.
Tell us about the bowling alley.
It's actually right on the crossroads between Bridgeport and Canaryville, and it's on 39th Street. And that comes down to, again, providing an opportunity for our residents to have a good time. It's going to be a high-end bowling alley. However, if you live in the ward, you're going to have various discount nights, so everybody can gravitate to and literally bring your friends, bring your family members, and not have to leave our community in order to have entertainment. And our main goal is to attract new people to our ward, but also keep the residents here in order for them to have different things to be a part of. And it's going to be a 21st century bowling alley like no other in the entire city of Chicago. And again, it's just investing in our neighborhoods and not necessarily.
I know you had different nights. You wanted certain nights, Beatles, Elvis.
Yeah, it's going to be a 21st century. It's going to be a glass.
I like Carlos Santana and Led Zeppelin, so maybe a Santana.
Led Zeppelin for sure will have, and basically the screens.
Well, don't forget Santana. 30-year ward's Hispanic.
Yes, that is true.
Now you also have a 30-ward Asian.
Yes.
How are you going to illustrate Asian American concerns in terms of Chinese staff members, mostly Chinese in terms of Asian, Chinese American? Either in Cantonese or Toisan dialects, or maybe even Mandarin dialects. Newer immigrants are Mandarin speakers. So tell us a little bit how you're going to address with the Asian community.
Yeah, just like the Asians and the Latinos and the whites and the blacks. I mean, it's everybody working together. So we just want to make sure there's somebody in our office who speaks the different cultural languages. And it's one of those things where the Asians are no different than the whites. You see, and what you do is you pay attention to everybody, because if you only pay attention to one group, then you're neglecting the other group, and which is what we have right now. So if the people are out there who want to make a difference and want to be included as one large community, then I'm asking them to just take a look at me.
Because I have heard complaints from Hispanic residents, and the 11th Ward is interesting. It's about a third Hispanic, a third white, and a third Asian. And of course you have historic white groups, Croatians, Italians, but the Hispanics have told me they've been ignored by the 11th Ward Regular Democratic Organization and Daily Family.
Yes, well, there's actually, you can tell which blocks get not ignored, and west of Halsted is treated differently than east of Halsted. Canaryville is treated differently than 35th to 39th Street. East Pilsen is treated differently than the rest, and just like the UIC here. So it's just, we have this neglected areas.
So you're an alderman for everyone?
For everyone.
When's the election?
April 7th.
What's your punch number?
51.
Illinois Committee for Honest Government and Frank Avila, your host, endorses John Kozlar for Alderman 11th Ward. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being on our show. Goodbye, and God bless you.